Okay, good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday night, so it's halacha and Tanya. Last week we started again from the beginning of Shulchan Aruch. We covered waking up in the morning, going to sleep at night, waking up in the morning. You go to sleep like a Jew, you wake up like a Jew. We learned about not being embarrassed for the scoffers and to run to do a mitzvah and be strong as far as conquering the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination goes. And so then we started talking about what's called Negel Vasid Natilas Yadayim. Now we just started this, so we're going to start and explain it and go into more details with it. There's two reasons why when a person wakes up in the morning, we know you have to watch. It's called Negel Vasid. Negel Vasid, we explained last week. Negel is Yiddish for nails, and Vasid is water. Negel Vasid means you're washing the fingertips. Now, there's two reasons for that. When a person wakes up in the morning, they're a new person. Like a Bria Chadosh, it's called. Just like a Kohen, when he started working in the daily work in the Bais Din, they had to sanctify their hands and feet from the sink that existed in the Bais Din. So therefore, halacha says before a person starts the new day, like a Kohen Gadol starting a new day and serving Hashem, so there you wash your hands. Secondly, reason which we mentioned briefly last week, when a person goes to sleep, the neshama leaves the body, and therefore impurity sets in. When a person wakes up in the morning, the impurity leaves, but it remains on the fingertips. Because the impurity remains on the fingertips, you have to do natilas yadayim. You have to wash your hands. Now, that's what we're up to basically from last week. Now we know certain ways of doing things remove certain impurities, so to speak. Like we know, as people know, that in the morning, when you wash an egel vaser, you have to wash it alternatively. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. When we wash for bread, then we wash, Chabad custom is 3 on each hand. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There's no alternating like it is in the morning, because there's different impurities that a person's trying to remove. The impurity of the morning can only be removed if you wash alternatively. If you're going to wash 3 times on one hand, 3 times on the other hand, it's not going to actually work well. It's not going to remove the impurity. So as soon as a person gets up, we learned it's preferred not even to walk anywhere, not even to get off the bed. You should right away wash your hands. Now, preferably, the Alter Rebbe says you should wash all the way to the wrist. Okay. The main thing, though, like we know by Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av, when it's forbidden to wash your hands, then we only wash to the end of the fingers. But l'chatchila, a person should actually wash the entire hand. And again, alternatively, back and forth, back and forth. Before a person washes negel vaser, they have to be very careful not to touch parts of the body. Like it says, not your mouth, not your nose, not your eyes, not your ears, you shouldn't touch food. You shouldn't. Why? Because there's an evil spirit, a ruach ra, an evil spirit that's on the fingers that doesn't leave until you wash negel vaser. And therefore, we're very careful not to touch food and not, just to make sure as soon as possible to wash your hands. Now, the water that we wash your hands with actually becomes impure because there's the impure spirit that we're washing off. Therefore, it says if you're emptying out your negel vaser, or let's say you're not doing it by the bed and you're going to the sink to wash negel vaser, you should not be washing negel vaser over dishes or food or a place where people walk, because it's an impure water. You're washing it. So if you already washed by the bed and then you wash again by the sink, that doesn't matter because the impurity is already off. But if you're washing either by the bed or whatever, and therefore you shouldn't leave the negel vaser water. Let's say you're washing near your bed with the basin. You shouldn't leave the water near the bed. You should empty it off as soon as possible, because you don't want the evil spirit, so to speak, going around the room. So you have to make sure you don't wash with the food. You don't want to wash with the dishes. You just wash it in the sink and make sure there's nothing else in the sink. Now, there's a very interesting thing. Like we're very careful not to touch food before we wash our hands for negalasa. So what happens, let's say if somebody has a housekeeper who's not Jewish, and they come to your house, I mean, they prepare food, they might cut the vegetables or whatever, or they're going to be touching food. Or let's say you go to a supermarket to buy apples, and the apples, people touch the apples to look, maybe they're, good or not. So it's possible that the apples that you're buying maybe were touched by somebody. So why isn't that an issue? So the law is that a non-Jew doesn't have this law of impurity. So therefore, if a non-Jew touches your food, there's no problem. It doesn't become impure. The food doesn't become impure. And therefore, we try to be as careful as possible. Even little kids, yes, we try to make sure they wash negalasa. But Vaad Rabbonim says in Shulchan Aruch, what happens if a little kid touched food? They didn't wash negalasa yet, and they touched food. It's not a problem, because like we mentioned the other week, impurity sets in where purity was and left. Because the ultimate entering of the neshama, and Vaad Rabbonim says this in this in the laws in Tos Yadayim, because the final entering of the neshama of a Jew is a bar and bas mitzvah, so therefore, if the neshama is not there completely, there's no impurity as much as there is for an adult. Nevertheless, we try to be careful as much as possible. The kids should wash their hands either right next to the bed, or they should wash it as soon as possible. Okay, now, what is the proper way of washing their hands? Because there are different opinions, by the way. A right-handed person washes the right hand first. But Vaad Rabbonim says, and this applies both to negalasa and when you're washing for bread. Okay, so let's say you're washing for negalasa in the morning, or again, same thing for bread. If you're a right-handed person, you pick up the cup in your right hand, transfer it to the left, and then you pour 1, 1, 1, or 3 and 3. If you're a left-handed person, there are many, many opinions in halacha, by the way, many opinions in halacha, that says a left-handed person washes like everybody else does. They wash their right hand first. So according to those opinions, again, a left-handed person would pick it up in the right, give it over to the left, and then wash the right, and either 3 or alternating. Tzemach Tzedek writes in the Tshuva, Tzemach Tzedek holds that a left-handed person washes their left hand first. That's what Tzemach Tzedek holds, and obviously that's the way we hold. So according to the Tzemach Tzedek, you pick it up in your left hand, give it to the right hand, and then wash your left hand first. That's if you're a left-handed person. If you're a right-handed person, you pick it up in the right and you give it to the left. Now, what happens if you didn't do that? You just took the kvart in your left hand and washed it. It's also kosher. But it's the best way of doing it is in that way. Now, it also says in Shulchan Aruch, and Kitzur says this also, and many, many poskim, and this is the way most Fruma people do it. They'll wash negalasa by the bed. They won't make a bracha yet. And I'll explain in a few minutes why. They make a bracha. They wash their hands, negalasa by the bed. They empty out the basin in the bathroom. They get dressed. Shower, whatever you're doing. Bottom line is you get dressed. After you're dressed, then you go to the proper sink in the kitchen or laundry, wherever you're going, and you wash again properly. Because first, there's a din that you're not supposed to say, besides on a fast day, obviously, but you're not supposed to say holy things before you rinse your mouth. The Rebbe Rashab used to rinse his mouth 3 times. When he did it, he rinsed his mouth in the morning 3 times. But you're supposed to rinse in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. It also says you're supposed to rinse your mouth because there's it's called the rear in Gemara in the halacha lashon. It's called the the guk, in the mouth. You want to, because it says you want to make sure you have a clean mouth when you're saying the words. So therefore, then there's another interesting thing. It says in halacha like this: you're supposed to wash your face every morning. So you have to understand. Years ago, when this stuff was written, people showered once a week. The Rambam says a person should go to the bathhouse once a week. It was not like today what we do. So nevertheless, there was still a din that a person had to wash the face in the morning out of respect to Hashem. Why? Because we are created in the image of Hashem. So we need to wash our face to look good. I'll answer the question in a second. Now, so you rinse your mouth, you wash your face, you rinse your mouth, you get dressed. So now you're ready to make a bracha on Netilas Yadayim. So then you go to the sink, and you can go again to the kitchen sink because the impurity is already off your fingers from the initial washing. And then what you do is you pick up the kvart in your right, give it to the left, wash again properly. Many people use a towel, for whatever reason. We'll get to that when we just talk later about washing for bread. So then they'll wash their hands. Now, our custom is that after we wash our hands, in the morning, this is for the morning, we dry our hands, and then when the hands are dried, we pick up our hands, separate them up to the temples, and we say the bracha shekcham mitzvah on the Netilas Yadayim. That's what the Rebbe Rashab did, and that's what the Minhagim says, that this is what we do. So you get dressed, you wash your face, you rinse your mouth, you get dressed, and afterwards you rewash Negel Vaser again properly, with a proper kvart, and you're washing your hands. You dry your hands, and then you pick them up to your temples, and then you make the bracha on Netilas Yadayim, and then you say the bracha sheyotzad, and things like that. So that's the proper way of doing it. Now again, somebody asked a question just now. When you pick up the kvart before you wash the nagavas, why doesn't that become impure? So first of all, that impurity we don't care about. We care about the impurity of the hands. We're all impure. Everybody came in contact with a dead body, and you were at a funeral. We're all impure anyway. But this impurity is only relevant to the hands and what you touch with the hands, such as food or things like that. If you touch your clothing before you wash your hands, your clothing don't become tummy. It's just food, and you shouldn't touch various parts of the body. But that law of impurity only applies to, again, parts of your body you shouldn't touch, and food shouldn't be touched. Okay, so then, you need, next thing is like this. This is all in the laws of Netilas Yadayim, and that is, again, most opinions say that if by mistake you did touch food before washing the Vaser, again, some people are machmir, but I'm saying in the halachic world, it doesn't forbid the food. Some people say if you touch food that has like fruits, if you touch the fruit without washing Vaser, you should wash the fruit 3 times. But what happens if you touch bread, food that you can't wash 3 times? So again, the bottom line is that today we're makel that the food after the fact does not become tummy, that you can't do it. Now, another thing is like this. There's a question in halacha, an argument in halacha, in fact. What makes the impurity on the hands? Is it night or is it sleep?
Open the door.
Is it sleep that makes the impurity, or is it night that makes the impurity? So some opinions, what's the difference? The difference is very simple. What happens if somebody's up a whole night and didn't sleep? Shavuos, Hoshana Rabbah, different time. You're up a whole night and you didn't sleep. Do you have to wash Negel Vaser now? Or if somebody sleeps during the day. If somebody sleeps during the day. So if sleep does it, you have to wash negalasa. If night does it, then you don't have to wash negalasa. So therefore, if you sleep at night, that's for sure you have to wash negalasa. But our custom is that even if you, even if you're up a whole night and you didn't sleep, nevertheless, you still wash negalasa. Our meaning is even with the bracha. If somebody sleeps more than a half an hour during the day, they sleep at Shabbos afternoon, people sleep more than a half an hour. When you get up, you wash negalasa, no bracha. And over there people are not careful that it should be near the bed. Because then you just, if you sleep during the day or Shabbos, you sleep for half an hour, then you go to the sink, you wash negalasa without a bracha. Another din brought down in Shulchan Aruch is that when a person, it says like this, V'chol karavai, in Barchi Nafshi, it says, Barchi Nafshi is Hashem, V'chol karavai, and all my innards will bless Hashem Kotchai, the holy name of Hashem. So B'chol karavai means your whole stomach. Kirbayim is the stomach. So therefore, it's brought down, it's appropriate, it says in a lot of people should even train themselves, to make sure to use the washroom, use the facility before they daven. That they shouldn't have to, in the middle of davening, they should need the facility. So in other words, the inner parts of the body should also be clean when they're davening and doing things like that. So ideally, they should do it. To make sure to go to the bathroom. In fact, it says in halacha people should train themselves to go to the bathroom in the morning and in the evening, and so on. Now, there's also things that you need to do in Netilas Yadayim, not only in the morning or for bread. Friends, we said you get up from your bed, if you walk out of the bathroom, and I'll explain this then how it applies today. You go out of the bathhouse, you cut your nails, you cut your hair, you take off your shoes, you have marital relations, you touch lice, or if you're cleaning your garments from lice, or if you scratch your head, if you touch parts of the body which are normally concealed, or if you leave the cemetery, it's like this. So many people, in all the cases that I mentioned now, will actually wash negalasa without a bracha, but they'll wash actually negalasa. In technical halacha, as long as you wash your hands to your wrists, it's good enough, even if you don't use a keli. Now, there's certain things that don't happen that often, so people then are more careful to use a keli, like you cut your nails, you cut your hair, or you go to a cemetery, or things like that. Now, it's a very important thing. What's the story with today's bathrooms? Now, here it says in Shulchan Aruch, big Shulchan Aruch, the Rebbe brings it down. If somebody just walks into the bathroom is an impure place. A bathhouse, a mikveh, if somebody just walks into the mikveh, and this you see a lot of times, and men at least should be aware of this. A lot of times they go to the mikveh, they go out of the mikveh, they wash their hands, and then they come back into the mikveh to put down the towel. What they didn't realize is just walking into the mikveh demands you have to wash your hands. So you're going to have to wash your hands again anyway, because just walking into a bathhouse, it's a place where people are undressed. It's a place of what's called zuhama. The same thing a bathroom. Now, there's a difference halachically between the olden time bathrooms and today's bathrooms. Years ago, the bathroom was actually an outhouse. We didn't have plumbing. Okay, so there was a bathroom, like an outhouse where people would do their needs there. That, because it wasn't cleaned at all, it wasn't clean. There's urine there and there's bowel movement there. There's a lot of things. So just walking into such a place, even if you didn't use it, would demand washing your hands. Some poskim say today that because today's that our bathrooms, there's plumbing and everything goes out and it's into the sewer, whatever it is, it doesn't have the same din of the bathrooms of yesteryear. Now they say that Rebbe did tell people even our bathrooms preferred if you can fill up the Nagelwasser, not necessarily in the bathroom. But even in our bathrooms, I must say, Poskim right as follows. You'll pardon the clarification that I'm going to be saying. When you have little boys in the house that use the toilet, they don't always aim very well. So you can have urine on the toilet seat. Then it has a din like the bathroom of yesteryear, because there's urine there. If it's a clean bathroom, adults that know how to aim, so to speak, then it has a din differently than the bathrooms of yesteryear. So just people have to be aware. If a toilet seat is not clean, then it has a din of a regular bathroom that you can't get water out of and you can't make brachas. And, you can't make a bracha in the bathroom anyway. But Moshe, I'll give you an example. What happens if somebody is traveling somewhere and they want to wash for bread and the only water they have is in the bathroom? Okay? So if the bathroom is clean, technically they can wash. I mean, this is the way the halacha is. People are machmir, but this is the way the halacha is. You'll be able to wash in the bathroom and then go outside and make the bracha until sedai. You can't say the bracha in the bathroom, but you'd be able to take water from the bathroom. You'd be able to wash in the bathroom and go outside and make the bracha and so on and so forth. But people are careful that when they go out, they cut their nails or they take a haircut or cut their hair, then they do usually wash. They try to wash with a kvod, ending marital relations and so on. Now, this is another very important thing that people are unaware of. If you touch a part of your body that's normally covered, you have to wash your hands before you make a bracha or before you daven or before you learn. Now, if there's absolutely no water around, you can wipe your hand on wood, okay? It also cleans it to a certain extent. But I'm just saying, people need to be aware of this. What happens if somebody's in the middle of davening and they have an itch in their hair? So if you just touch the hair without touching the scalp, that's fine. You don't have to wash your hands. But if you scratch your hair, that means you're touching the scalp, which is normally covered, unless you're bald. But if you're not bald and you're scratching the scalp, you have to wash your hands. You can't continue davening until you wash your hands. If somebody ties their shoe before they make a bracha, or they tie their kids' shoes before they make a bracha, or learn, or daven, they have to go wash their hands. You don't necessarily need a cloth, but you have to wash your hands. So all these things, or again, if somebody has an itch in the ear, okay, and they put their finger into the ear canal, not in the outside of the ear, but inside the canal to itch, that's called a covered place, and they have to wash their hands before they make a bracha, if they're in the middle of davening and they scratch, not with a Q-tip, I mean, you do it with your finger, so then you have to wash your hands before you're allowed to continue davening. Now, somebody asked, does it apply to a beard? It probably does if you scratch your hair under the beard. A person that has a beard, it's normally covered. So then if a person doesn't have a beard, then it's not an issue. Okay? So these are all things that a person would need to have netilas yadayim for. And again, what you're allowed to do before and what you're not allowed to do. Okay, to move on a little bit, the next din in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch is the din of getting dressed. Now, what's unique and interesting in Yiddishkeit, as we learned many times, Yiddishkeit is the constitution of life, which means a Jew is serving Hashem 24/7 for 120 years. And therefore, Torah dictates, I don't mean it's a dictatorship. Torah tells us, as we see so far, how to wake up in the morning, how to get dressed, how to use the bathroom, how to eat, how to drink, how to conduct business, how to go to sleep. I mean, Torah dictates everything. So there are laws in Shulchan Aruch telling us how we need to get dressed. Now, in addition to the fact that the pasuk says that a person should be modest, with Hashem. So a person has to be as humble as modest as possible. In fact, even in Shulchan Aruch, it says many people are not careful in this today, others are, that you get dressed and undressed under the covers, or at least as modest as you can, not to be immodest. And your person shouldn't come along and say that, well, I'm in a hidden room, nobody's here for the next 100 miles, what's the big deal? The answer is, Hashem Kodesh Baruch Hu sees everything. Yes, so even if we're under covers, he sees. Yeah, but we try to do as much as possible to try to be humble in our behavior. The attitude of a Jew has to be humble in everything they do. So therefore, for instance, I'm going to discuss first before we go into, goyish clothing and all that. This is getting late. Right has precedence over left. For a left-handed person, left has precedence over right. Which means when a person, let's say, is taking a shower, Torah says how you're supposed to take a shower. Okay? Now, halachically, the way you're supposed to take a shower, the head is supposed to be washed first, because the head is the king of the body. The melech of the body is the head. So first, you wash the head. Then, when you're washing the body, you wash right side, right hand, then left hand. Right foot, then left foot. That's the way Torah says you're supposed to wash. Going from top to bottom, head first, right hand first, left hand. Now, if you're a left-handed person, you do the reverse. You wash your left hand first, then the right hand. When a person is getting dressed, so the right hand comes first, meaning you're having a blouse or a shirt and you put your hand into the sleeve. What hand do you put in first? You put in the right hand, then you put in the left hand. You put in the right leg, then the left leg. If you're a left-handed person, you do it the opposite way, okay? Because right is more important than left. Now, there's one exception to this, and then we'll go to Tanya. The exception to this is when it comes to shoes, tying shoes. So let's say you're a normal right-handed person. You put on your right shoe first, don't tie it. Then you put on the left shoe. But you tie the left shoe first and then the right shoe. Why do you tie first left? Because when it comes to tying tefillin, the Torah says, where do we tie the tefillin? On the left hand, if you're a right-handed person. So therefore, a right-handed person puts the shoe on first, the right shoe, then the left shoe, but tying left is more important than right. So then you tie the left, and then you tie the right. And it's later, I want to go to Tanya, but removing the clothing, the left goes first. Many people, even halacha, when you get dressed from top to bottom. Undressed, bottom to top. That doesn't mean the whole bottom. Like you put on undershirt, then the layers that you're doing, you first put on the top, then the bottom. Then you take off the bottom first and then the top. To be continued, and Mitzvah Shem next week. And now we're going to go to Tanya.